Here we go. Okay, so welcome everybody. Happy Thursday. Tonight's class, we are focusing on Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. A little bit inspiration of upcoming celebration of Navaratri. So Navaratri begins this weekend. So celebration 9 nights to the goddess, specifically to Durga. And so the idea behind Warrior 2 being representative of Durga is that she is the one that it's suggested that when you have confrontation, conflict, when you have to resolve something, especially something that makes you feel very scared or that you're nervous about, or you're like, I don't have no idea how this is possibly going to work out. They're like, Durga's the one you call, right? She's the warrior. She's the one that steps up and says that I will stand up to do what is necessary, what is right, no matter how hard it is. And that she is indefeatable, right? So the energy of Durga is for us to recognize in ourselves that undying energy, the undefeatableness of ourselves, how there is nothing in this world that can truly destroy us. It's us that decides. Because of what happens in the world, we destroy ourselves, right? And that's what the mind does. And so when it's said in the stories that Durga comes and she fights off the demons, she destroys demons, is the demons that are referred to are not external entities. The demons are our own thoughts, right? So it's our own mental processes that are painful, that keep us in that state of suffering, that keep us in that state of feeling like we're not enough and we can't possibly live the life that's in front of us, right? We can't actually do it. So we call on Durga to help us go back to the knowledge that beyond all of that, we are undying, that beyond all of that is we are undefeatable, that beyond all of that, all that's ever required of us is to stand up. That's it. Right? And then that is the victory, right? That she is the ever victorious one. And so Warrior 2 is this opportunity, again, to contemplate or to think about how you go into those moments of your life where standing up is necessary, where there is conflict that needs to be resolved, where there's a battle to be fought. Do you go into it with the idea that I'm going to dominate and destroy? Or do you go into it with the energy of I'm going to transform this into peace? Right? Because Durga ultimately, even as she is destroying demons, as she's not eradicating them, as she's transforming them. So our own thoughts become friends instead of enemies, right? Our own internal world becomes one of balance instead of chaos, right? So it's the opportunity in Warrior 2 is to think about, be aware when you step into conflicts in your life. Do you step into it aggressive, or do you step into it with that desire to transform it, whatever it is, into peace? Right? Because what's running through this, your mind, is what's going to create the outcome in front of you. So comfortable seat if you're not there already. Let the eyes close. Just for a moment, let yourself settle into your breath, settle into right now. Warrior 2 in the warrior sequence, it said that Warrior 1 is that moment of recognizing that action needs to be taken. Warrior 2 is taking step into that action, having yourself aware of where you are right now, but gazing into that future where your energy is focused. Then Warrior 3 is when that energy is released, the action is taken, and no longer does it belong to you. So Warrior 2 is this moment of knowing what you stand for and then beginning to act on it. So settle into right now. Feel the momentum of where your mind has been carrying you from the day, the week, the year. It's fun that every god and goddess, every representation has their own vehicle, something they ride upon, typically an animal. Durga's is a lion or a tiger. Sometimes it's referred to as a tiger. She rides on a big cat. So the energy that is your mind, your momentum that carries you, what animal is it? Don't think about it too much, just whatever immediately kind of comes to mind. This is the energy that carries me. And a recognition that the energy that carries you has a momentum. If your mind is fixated on that momentum, we're stuck in the action that creates karma. So instead, we start to feel the energy that is in motion as movement, action in the world, and then we feel the part of ourselves that is beyond that. Observing the action, but not attached to the action. For just a moment, see and feel where you are. Actions in the world and the part of you that is observing, that is beyond that. Is able to look and say, is this action one that I want to take? And remember that this practice is to become better friends with yourself. So if there's inner conflict, then this is where you begin. How do I become better friends with myself? Full deep breath in. Full deep breath out, relaxing the shoulders, the jaw, the butt. And bring your hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. We'll open sound of Om. Take a deep breath in. Let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands. Take your arms straight out wide from the shoulders, straight out, palms facing down, and just start to make little circles. Arm circles. Yep. Little, little, little. Keep your body as still as you can. So dropping into your seat. Just circle, circle, circle fast. Yep. You want to get into that little sensation of feeling your arms attached to your shoulders, all of those little muscles that have to do this action that, you know, I say it and you're like, oh, okay, that's not a big deal for the first 10 seconds. Then you're like, this isn't so much fun anymore. Keep going. Good. Keep stretching out through your fingers so the arms are nice and long. Nice. Start to rotate the other way. Yep. So this is what helps us, right? Warrior 2, we often get really super focused on the legs because the legs are doing a lunge. And so we think that that has to be more important because it feels like the most amount of work. And it's probably where your awareness of the work is most prominent, but the upper body is just as relevant, right? So the arms are considered that representation, right, of your energy that is extending through you. So they say if you're preparing to shoot an arrow, preparing to throw a spear, you want to pay real attention to how that energy is moving, right? That it's not all loosey-goosey, wiggly, squeaky, wherever, right? So we want to have this awareness of the arms being really solidly connected. Good. Come to stillness, deep breath in. And then wrap the right arm on top of the left. Eagle arms, Virabhadrasana, squeeze the forearms. Good, lift the elbows a little higher, inhale. Then as you exhale, drag the elbows down and in, rounding your back, so like you're bringing the elbows down into your belly curl. And then come back to upright. Again, inhale, lift the elbows a little higher, still keeping the shoulders drop. And then exhale, curl the elbows down and in, round into that upper back area. Good, and then one more time, back to upright. Inhale, lift the elbows a little higher. Then exhale, draw the elbows down and in, round into the upper back, dropping the shoulders away from the ears as you lift through the back of your ears. Lengthen the throat. And then back to center, please. Stretch your arms out wide. Yeah, and then left arm on top of right. Wrap the other direction, pressing the forearms against each other. Lift the elbows a little higher on an inhale. And then as you exhale, draw the elbows down and in, round. Good. So your middle back and shoulders is very relevant in Warrior 2. Come back up to neutral or center. Inhale again, lift the elbows a little higher. And then exhale, draw the elbows down and in, rounding through the upper back. Good. And then come back to upright one more time. Inhale, lift the elbows a little higher. And then exhale, drawing the elbows down and rounding, lifting through the back of your rib cage and then lifting the back of your throat. So the shoulders still go wide away from the ears. Nice. And then come all the way back up. Beautiful. Stretch the arms out and wide and then release the arms down. Nice. So in your seated position, just bring your feet forward in front of you. Stretch the arms back behind you so that your fingers point towards the back of your mat. Palms are flat. And then just, yep, hands can be as wide as they need to go. So my suggestion is have them be as wide as your shoulders, maybe slightly wider if your shoulders or upper back are tight. Good. And then you're pressing your hands down into the floor. Start to scoot your butt forward towards the top of your mat, any amount until you feel like that's enough stretch for you. So keep moving your butt forward. Keep your hands where they are. Yep. Keep going. Keep going. Again, you will feel when like, oh, that is enough stretch on my shoulders, on my back. Keep your hands rooted down. Nice. Good, you guys. Keep your chest lifting up. So again, you're not just dropping your weight into your shoulder joints, but you're pushing down through the arms and lifting the chest. Long throat. Good. One more breath. Beautiful. And then start to walk your hands back in towards you. So you come up out of the stretch nice and easy. Nice. Cross your ankles, roll forward onto hands and knees. Your arms feel so awake, probably tingly. Yeah, it's a crazy thing, right? Your arms are attached to your shoulders and your shoulders are attached to your neck, right? So this line of energy, right, in Warrior 2 has a lot to do with being able to release, not just having your arms out, but the arms being out and engaged is a way to release the chest all the way up into the head. So on hands and knees, do a little cat and cow. Just inhale, lift the tail and the heart, then exhale, curl and round, hollow the front of the body, front of the belly. Good. Yeah. And ultimately, Warrior 2, being a standing pose, tends to have an energy that is a little bit more grounding, is a little bit heavier because it's a pose that uses the big muscles of the legs. And that's a great benefit, right? It can take us out of that feeling that our mind is just out of control, or we're caught up in our mind that we can't even feel our body anymore, right? We don't know where we are in space. And at the same time, it's a way for us to also energize and elevate the mind, right? Which is what every posture is really intended to do, is to give a really strong, solid foundation for energy to flow, right? For the mind to flow. So again, part of the practice of this pose is not just working the body, but having the mind start to develop a little bit more focus, a little bit more drishti, right? The gaze. That's not just where your eyes are pointing, it's where your mind is pointing. Good. Come back to neutral spine, please. Nice. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, come into downward facing dog. You got it. Yeah. Good. Pedal the feet just a little bit, letting the alternating, bending one knee, letting the other heel reach for the floor. Good. You got it. Then steady your heels, please. Walk your feet maybe one step closer to your hand. So shorten your dog just a little bit, just a tiny bit. So you're still in down dog, Mark, just a shorter down dog. Good. Plant your right hand, reach your left hand underneath you for your outer right ankle or shin. So a twisting down dog. Yes. And as you reach, try and keep your hips square and turn that shoulder under. So twist the ribs. Look underneath that left armpit. I can't. Good. And then come back to center, please. Switch, please. Taking the left hand to your outer right ankle or shin, or just do whatever is the opposite, because I can't remember how I said it. And you're all the people in the room here are doing completely different things, so it's fine. Just make sure you do the opposite side. Twisting down dog. Keep your hips as square as you can. Look underneath that armpit. Nice, Emily. Excellent. And then back to both hands, please. Nice job. Walk your, actually, let's do this. Take your right foot forward between the hands. Come into a lunge. Walk your hands to the left until you come to the center of your mat. Turn your feet. So you're in Prasarita Padottanasana, wide legs. Good. Nice, you guys. And then come up on the tippy toes of your feet, letting yourself drop your weight into your hands a little bit more. So you're squeezing in and up through that inner edge of the legs. Good. Scooping the low belly. And then keep yourself feeling that lifted and let your heels drop down towards the floor. Good. And then turn your right toes towards the top of your mat. Nice. Bend that knee like you're coming into a side lunge, but keep your hands right where they are. So don't walk your hands to the top of your mat. Keep them center. Just bend that right knee. Good. And keep your butt in line with your heels. So widen the inner knee. That's it. Keep that left leg as straight as you can. Good. And then straighten the right leg. Come back to that forward fold. Straight legs. Turn the right foot again. You got it. Come up on your tippy toes. So again, squeezing in and up, pull your hips as high as you can. Yeah, that sensation of squeezing the legs towards each other and pulling up into the pelvis. Good. And then drop the heels to the floor, continuing to lift your hips even higher. So as you press your heels down, pull your hips up. Good. And then turn your left toes towards the back of your mat. Good. So Mark, I would separate your feet a little wider. There you go. And then bend your left knee. So again, coming into that feeling of a side lunge, keep your butt in line with your ankle. So don't let your left butt cheek pop out to the side. Keep your right leg as straight as you can. Good. Keeping your hands, your torso center. So again, you're working that opening of the pelvis while your torso stays in line with your pelvis, because that's warrior two. You don't want the torso to go towards the bent knee. Good. Straighten the left leg again, please. Turn the toes parallel. Back to the wide legs. Come up onto your tippy toes. Good. Squeeze in and up. That's it. Pull the hips nice and high. Good. And then take the heels back down to the floor, please. Exhale, fold deep. Nice. Bring your hands to your hips. Come all the way up to stand. So still with the wide legs, don't change the legs. Stretch your arms out wide to a letter T. Good. And I know we've done this before, but we're doing like that old school kind of windmill action. So you're going to twist to the left and then bring your right hand to reach for your left ankle on an exhale. And then inhale, come all the way back up to your arms being wide. And then do it the other way. Twist to your right, reach the left hand to the right ankle, come all the way back up. Good. Move with your breath, twist and reach and come back up. Try to get the exhales to happen as you are reaching down. So as you're folding, then inhale, you come back up. You want your hips to stay as square as they can. So again, this is working that stability of the legs and the freedom of the rib cage, right? So the legs are doing one thing, the torso is rotating. Good. So you want to work the twist as much as you can, not just the reaching. Good. Nice. Keeping the arms in line with the shoulders as much as you can. Again, that awareness of the whole piece of the torso. Nice. Keep going. Beautiful. Right? What makes things, that energy that the yogis or the stories refer to as demonic, is that it's not something that happens just once, right? It's the things that are repetitive in our mind that become a problem, right? So things that we are overly identified with. But just like it takes a while for a pattern to develop, assert itself, it takes a while for a pattern to really transform itself too. And we always assume it's going to do it in an instant. So some of this, again, focusing the mind, is that you have to consistently keep guiding the mind into focus. It means you got to do the same thing over and over again. Good. Do one more each side. Nice. And then come back up to center where you are standing upright. Reach your hands back behind you. Interlace your fingers. Shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. Hug the upper arms. Start to straighten the arms. Good. Reaching back behind you. And then bend your knees. Drop your torso parallel to the floor. So your butt goes back. Your torso goes forward like you're bowing halfway to the floor. There you go. Good. So pause there for a moment. Dropping the hips nice and low. Widening the inner knees. Good. Nice, you guys. Roll the arm bones up and back once again. So you're lifting the upper chest, lifting the back of your throat. Good. That's it, Beth. And then drop the head, keeping the head in line with your spine. Take your hips up towards the sky as you straighten the legs, and then stretch the arms up and over any amount. Feel as though you are, again, working with widening the chest more than you are trying to squeeze the back. You're widening your chest. That's it. Good. And then release the hands down to the floor, please. Nice job. Bring your hands back to your hips. Come all the way up to stand. And then here's where I'm hoping, and Emily, you might be off camera for it, but I'm hoping that you have a little bit of wall space that you can use. So if you're in the room with me, I want you to head to a wall. If you have a little bit of wall space, you don't need a whole lot, but find a wall. So go to a wall. Good. And you're going to turn so that your right hip is facing the wall. Yeah, and you have to be close enough here where maybe let your outer baby toe of the right foot touch the wall. Yep. And then bring your left foot underneath the left hip. There you go. But you're not leaning on the wall, right? At no point here are you leaning on the wall. Okay. So your right foot is going to come off of the floor. You're going to lift it up so that it's at a 90-degree angle straight from your hip. So lift your right foot up off the floor. It's the one that's close to the wall. Yep. All the way up in line with your hip. Try to get so that your ankle is underneath your knee. You got it. But a bent knee, Beth, right there. Yep. 90 degrees. Perfect. Good. And then you're take that right hand to the wall. Yep. So you got the wall hanging onto it. Good. So what you're doing here is you are widening that right leg. I want you to move the outer knee outward towards the wall without twisting, right? So you're just moving the knee wide. Let the ankle stay underneath the knee. So it's like the whole shin can press wide. And then at the same time, push your left inner thigh wide. So you're activating that inner thigh energy, pushing the legs away from each other. Again, you're not leaning on the wall. So try and push your left hip as wide to the left as you're pushing your right shin to the right. You got it, Tahir, you're there. Yep. And then scoop your belly, press the top of your left thigh and butt up and back. Yes, this should feel like a lot of like internal work here. You're pressing out to the wall. Good. Try to get the whole length of the shin. Nice. And then go ahead and release. Yeah. And then turn yourself around. You're going to do the other side. Be grateful that I'm not giving this to you as an actual physical therapy exercise because I'd be telling you to do that for like 20 repetitions. So I'm just doing once. So try the other side. So again, starting with the left foot really close to the wall because you don't want that pushing wide to have to go very far. That's not the point. The point is just that you have something there to push into to get those muscles that do the widening to activate, right? So lift that left foot up in line with your hip, knee is bent, ankle in straight line with the heel. So it's a 90-degree angle. And then start to press wide. So again, it's not your outer hip that's pushing wide, it's your knee and your shin. So you're not leaning on the wall at all. Your shoulder should not be on the wall unless it has to be. But you're pushing wide through the knee and the shin. That's it. And then you're scooping your belly, lift up a little taller through your right leg, your standing leg. So pull the top of your right thigh up and back, push your butt up and back. There you go. And then keep pushing wide through that knee and that shin. Yeah. And again, at the same time, you're pushing your right inner thigh wide. So it's like you're trying to really get both legs to activate, inner thigh, outer thigh. Good. Nice, you guys. Stay with it. One more breath, press wide. And then go ahead and release. Nice job. And then bring yourself back to the top of your mat. So that action, right, becomes really relevant in Warrior 2, because when we say widen the inner knee, is we don't just mean to turn your knee, we mean to widen the whole inner thigh, right, which is going to make space in your lower back. So when you hear that cue in Warrior 2, I want you to remember that exercise at the wall and say, oh, that's what she's talking about, not just widen my knee, pull through that whole inner edge, all those muscles, pull through the inner edge of my thigh from my knee to my hip, right? So feet underneath your hips, top of your mat. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Good. And then exhale, bow forward, forward fold. Excellent. Bend your knees, please. Drop your hips nice and low. Good. Scoop your low belly in and up, and then stretch the arms up alongside your ears. Come into chair. Utkatasana. Good. Feeling the back of your throat lift, widen the inner knees. Yep. You got it. So even there, right? Hearing that cue, widen the inner knees. Imagine you're widening the entire upper leg. Good. Take your hands down to the floor, please. Straighten the legs and bow. Excellent. Do it one more time. Bend your knees, drop your hips back and low, and then stretch the arms up alongside your ears. So here, keep your butt moving back. Don't let the knees come forward. There you go. Good, you guys. You should feel your glutes engaging here. So if all the work is happening in your thighs, I want you to try and contract your butt cheeks around your sit bones. Good. Nice, you guys. Then release the hands down to the floor, straighten the legs and bow. Nice job. Stretch your right leg back behind you. Nice long lunge. Good. Both hands inside the front foot, please. Start to circle your left hip. Make hip circles. Nice. Again, where you're trying to rotate the whole pelvis. So here you don't need it to be like those little tiny movements. You're trying to rotate the hip joint. Yup. Good. Nice. And then come back to stillness, please. Beautiful. Nice, you guys. So go ahead and step back to downward facing dog. Yeah, just because I think this transition is easier to explain. Come forward to plank pose, take your feet together. Good. And then Vasisthasana, come onto that right hand, come onto the baby toe edge of your right foot, take the left arm to the sky, and then step your left foot forward in front of you. Bend the knee, plant the foot in front of you. And as you push into that foot, so bend the knee a lot here, even more, so that you can really push down into the foot. As you press into that foot, lift your hips higher. Yeah, and now feel like you're dragging the top of your left hip back and rotating that right hip under. So it's like you're twisting open. Beautiful. Good. Release that hand down. Please step yourself back to downward facing dog. Excellent. And then take your right foot forward in front of you. Lunge. Right foot between the hands. Both hands inside the foot. Circle the hip. Nice. Yeah. The secrets to warrior two is that the things that will also get in your way is if your hips are tight, outer hips are tight, pose is going to feel restricted. If your groins are tight, pose is going to feel restricted. If your lower back is tight, glutes are tight, pose is going to feel restricted. So it's not a question of strength, right? And a lot of people get into that, say, oh, warrior two is so hard, thinking about the strength required to be in it. But our strength gets locked up when we're tight. It's not that we don't have the strength, it's just not available. And this is the problem in the mind, right? We have so much potential, but it's not available when we're overstressed, when we're overstrung, stuck in our own thought patterns. Come back to stillness, please. Good. Step back to downward facing dog. So take that right foot back alongside the left. And then take your feet together. Come forward to plank, upward push up. And then you're coming onto the baby toe edge of your left foot. Left hand holds you, right arm to the sky. And then step your top foot forward in front of you, bend the knee. So you want it almost in that same position that you were just in. Press down into the foot so that you can lift your hips higher. That's it. And then pull that right hip back in space and rotate that left hip under. And then let your throat fall back so your shoulders can kind of mirror that same thing. Keep your hips up though, so here, don't let them drop. That's it. Nice, you guys. And then release the hand, step yourself all the way back to downward facing dog. Excellent. And then come forward to plank, upward push up, lower down slow, coming through knees if you need. Good. Bend both knees, kick your heels in towards your butt. Press down through the tops of the thighs, or the tops of the knees, I should say. And then press into your hands, lift up head, neck, and chest. So a bent knee cobra. Good. And really feel here that you're trying to lift your hip points forward and up. So you're getting into, again, that front of the pelvis psoas area. Good. And then release the upper body, please. Let the legs come back to straight. Nice. And so we're going to try it this way because I know that, that Emily hates quad stretching in this position. So we're going to try it a different way. So release, come onto your forearms for a moment. And then you're going to turn onto your right hip. Yep. So just stack the left hip on top of the right. Turn onto your right hip. Stack the left hip on top of the right. Right forearm holds you. Good. And then that top leg, you're going to bend your left knee, kick your heel in back towards your butt, and reach back for the foot or the ankle. So you come into a quad stretch. Emily's like, thank you. I know she doesn't like doing it from Sphinx Pose. It's a little too intense, so I get it. But I want you to pay attention that your knees are staying in line with each other here. Again, if we're not looking at that, then we're not keeping good integrity of the thigh bone with the hip socket, right? So keep your hips in line, keep your knees in line, press into that right forearm. So you do have to strengthen that shoulder and keep drawing the left upper arm bone back and wide. So you're opening the shoulder as you work that quad stretch. Heel should come in towards the middle of your butt cheek. So not down into the butt crack, but into the middle of that left butt cheek. Good. Nice, you guys. One more breath. Excellent. And then go ahead and release, stretch that leg out. Beautiful. Just for fun, since you're on that hip already, stay there. Stay on that side. Good. And then lift that left foot up off just an inch or so off of the right. Make little circles with the leg. Yep, draw little circles with the foot. You can point the toe if you want. That's very Pilates. Or you can have the foot flex. It does slightly different action on the leg, but it's still working a lot of that inner thigh energy. So again, nice and small motion. So your whole body's not rocking around. You're keeping your hips as still as you can, shoulders as still as you can. Good. Change the direction. Rotate the other way. Nice, you guys. Excellent. And then go ahead, let it go. Yeah. Gets into your butt a little bit too. So roll back onto your belly, please. Take a moment with the legs straight. Walk your hands back alongside your ribs. Take a cobra pose with the legs straight. So plant the hands. And then lift up head, neck, and chest. Again, with that feeling of lifting the front of your pelvic bones forward and up. Wide chest here. So draw those elbows back. Good. And then release, please, back to your belly. And then you're turning onto your left hip. So the left arm's going to hold you. And if being up on your forearm feels like it's a lot on the shoulder or it's too much on the shoulder, you can come down to where that arm is straight and let the head rest and just really work through the legs. That's fine. But it's kind of a little extra benefit if you can be up on that forearm. Good. So stack the hips and then bend your right knee. So it should be the leg that's on top. And then kick your heel back towards your butt. Reach for the foot or the ankle. Good. So absolutely here, you don't want your hips falling back. You don't want that top hip falling backwards. You want to keep it in line. Good. Keep your knees in line with each other as much as you can. Nice. But you can press the foot back into the hand to add a little bit of resistance. You can roll that right arm bone up and wide, draw your throat back. Nice. Got it. So that Durga energy is that when there is something that is the usual solution does not work, or the way that you think it should work does not work, she just says you just transform, right? You just change. That's part of that being undefeatable. It doesn't matter how many times you have to change, you will. Right? So Durga becomes many other forms when her usual presentation is not what's necessary, not what's needed. Let that leg go. Let the leg come back to straight. Good. And then lift the foot up off of the left just a little bit and start to make those little circles, like you're drawing circles with your toes or circles with your foot, but it's a nice, straight, engaged leg. Again, you can point the toes, you can flex the foot, but do something, right? Do something with the foot. You want to have just a little bit here with the hips stacked, almost like you're sending your outer heel up towards the ceiling, slightly higher than your toes. So if you have to work that angle, yeah, there you go, Mark. You will feel it in your outer thigh and butt more that way. Just what you wanted. These are important muscles, right? These are muscles that help us to balance, that help us to walk, to move. Change the direction of your circles, please. So when people say to me they want to have better balance or they want to be able to more easily get down onto the floor or be able to stand back up, I'm like, well, these are the muscles you got to work. Good. And then release, please, coming back. Good. Roll back onto your belly. Nice job. Pause for a moment. You can let the chest drop. Good. If you need to windshield wiper the legs, you can always bend the knees and let the feet drop from side to side. Good. And then come back to stillness, please. Taking the legs back behind you straight again. You can separate your feet just a tiny bit wider if you'd like. And then again, come up into Sphinx Pose. So up onto the forearms, elbows underneath the shoulders. Again, feet can be slightly wider here. Okay. Yeah. So this might be where you stay pressing down, dragging back. Opportunity though, if it feels like it is available, is to press into the hands, start to lift the elbows up off the floor, come into straight arms. In this pose, you can always take the hands a little bit wider as well. Good. Continue to feel like you are dragging backwards on the hands. So the chest is still moving forward. You're still lengthening, pulling through the front edge of the thighs up into the pelvis. Low belly is still engaged. Still lengthening your legs. So press the shins down into the floor. Shoulders drop. Nice. And then slowly release back down onto your belly. Excellent. You guys walk your hands back alongside your ribs, press up onto hands and knees, then find your way back to child's pose. If you need to do a little bit of wiggling or cat-cow before you come back into child's pose, do that. Otherwise, just bring your hips back to your heels, child's pose. Good. A lot that goes into the dynamics of warrior two, right? That the pelvis is facing one direction, but the ribs are moving a different direction and the gaze is turned in another direction. The arms are mirroring the legs, right? We want to have the same steadiness below as we have upper body. And to be able to be the master of those sort of coordinated energies inside of us that's the focused mind, right? The focused mind, we often say, is one pointed, right? That it's on one thing. It doesn't mean that it's stuck on that one thing, like there's nothing else. But a focused mind can manage all of those coordinated or all of those moving flows of energy and keep them in balance. That's what we want the mind to be able to do. A healthy mind can do that. Open mind can do that. An overwhelmed mind gets caught in whatever is most in front of its face, right? Walk yourself back up, please. Good, come to sit on your butt and take your legs out in front of you. You can use a blanket underneath your seat if you need. Stretch your legs out wide. Good, Upavista Konasana. Nice wide legs. Like I said, the groins are one of those places that we often don't talk about with warrior two, but it's important. Good. So wider legs here if you can. Really wide. Good. Excellent, you guys. So start to walk your right hand towards the inside of your right heel. So a side stretch, extending the right torso over the right leg. Good. Turn your left rib cage open. Left arm can come up over the ear if you'd like, or hand can be behind the head or at your hip, wherever it feels like it can rest without stressing the shoulder. Good. Keep your left butt cheek rooted down to the floor. So even though you're leaning to the right, keep that action. I see you. Good. Nice, you guys. One more scoop of the belly. Lean just a little further. Nice. And then start to turn your belly towards that right leg. So your hands are framing the foot. So you have both hands, belly turned towards the right leg, hands framing either side of the leg. Good. So turn your ribs. And again, if you had to come up out of the position to do that rotation, no problem. Just come back in, walk yourself forward. Still on the right leg. Good. Keep your left butt cheek rooted down to the floor. Yeah, this is part of that sensation of getting there to be more space between the thigh and the hip bone. Good. Walk yourself all the way back up, please. Nice. Walk your left hand towards the inner edge of your left heel. Rotate your ribs open, stretch the right arm over the ear, or again, hand can be behind the head or at your hip. Good, keep pressing the right butt cheek down to the floor here. So again, creating that sensation of rootedness, even though you're looking for stretch, extension through the upper body. We also tend to get short in our torso when we're doing warrior two, because again, we sink down into that energy of the legs, forgetting that it's the energy of the upper body to rise up. So we want to keep that flow open in both directions. Nice, keep your heels rooting down so the knees are not locked. We need one more breath. And then start to turn the belly towards the left leg, letting the hands frame that foot or frame that shin. Good, so you're really twisting from the lowest part of your waist. So again, if coming up out of the side bend and then turning and walking back in gives you more access to that, take that extra step. Good. Again, Durga is ultimately about how we step into our battles, not just the desire to win, right? To get what we want. She actually steps in and all the battles that she fights are not even hers, right? She's asked to step in when everyone else can't figure out how to resolve a conflict. So whenever she steps in, she's like, I have no personal stake in this whatsoever. It's not about me. So where is your mind when you step in to resolve your own conflicts? Is it all about you? Or are you really looking for what is the best path to peace? Walk yourself all the way back up. Nice. Good. Bring the legs back towards each other, please. Bend the knees, cross the ankles, roll forward onto hands and knees. Come back to downward facing dog. Downward dog. You got it. And then take your right leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Good. Bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt. Stack the right hip on top of the left. Circle that knee. Make circles with that knee. Circle that hip. Good. Nice. And then lift and open. Just pause for a breath. Beautiful. And then point that knee down towards the floor. Bring the knee forward and wide towards the outer edge of your right wrist for pigeon pose. Yay. Sliding the left leg back any amount. Good. Again, making sure that your right knee is wider than your right hip point so that you can truly square your pelvic bones towards the top of your mat. Good. And then once you're there, go ahead, scoop into the low belly, press through that front shin, walk your hands forward. So you can take a forward fold, but keep your legs awake. So keep pressing through the front shin. Good. And the action of warrior two is not dissimilar. It's a different stretch in pigeon, but the front knee is bent, working in that lunge energy, and the back leg is extended. Right? So we have to be able to coordinate the effort of both of those so that the pelvis is not being yanked between two things, but it feels supported by both actions. So you can practice that here, right? How much is there energy drawing back up into your pelvis, right? Are you squeezing the legs towards each other? And how much is there that energy of trying to pull the legs apart? So you should feel a lengthening through that left leg, almost like you would in Cobra, like you're extending out through the inner edge of that left leg. But you don't want it to pull your left hip out of alignment. You want your tail reaching for the floor. Excellent, you guys. One more breath in your pigeon pose. And walk your hands back up underneath your shoulders. But press into your hands, tuck the back toes, lift the back knees, step back to downward facing dog. Take your feet together, please. Slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. And you're rolling onto the baby toe edge of your left foot. Left hand holds you, right arm to the sky. Rolling onto the left foot. Good. And then this time, step your top foot back behind you. So the right foot comes behind you, bend the knee, press down into that foot, lift your hips. And let your throat fall back, let your arm fall back, chest open. Beautiful, but push into your legs. That's it. And then unwind, come all the way back to downward facing dog. You got it. And then left leg comes up and back behind you, down dog split. Bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, stack the left hip on top of the right, circle that knee. Good. And coordinating the energy inside of you so that whatever your goal is, whatever your focus is that you have everything in you that is available to you to put towards that goal. Lift and open, pause, and then point the knee down towards the floor. Bring that left knee forward towards the left wrist, forward and wide, letting the shin come across. But here, just make sure you don't sit onto that left hip. Keep your hips level with each other. So you got to lift up a little more. Nice, you guys. And then again, press through that left shin. Feel that sensation of trying to lift the front edge of your pelvis, drop your tail, and then go ahead and walk yourself forward into your forward fold using whatever props that you'd like, but keep your legs awake, right? So stretching out through the inner edge of that right leg, pressing through the left shin, continuing to try and drop the tail towards the floor and hollowing the front edge of your pelvic bones. A little bit of low belly engagement. Good. It's easy in some of the stories. It just talks about Durga as being this, sort of military type warrior. But then you realize that as she's transforming into all of these other forms, that not all of them are what we would consider the warrior. So yeah, she becomes Kali when she needs to, which is another form that is very fierce. But she also becomes Lakshmi. She also becomes Saraswati. She becomes many other forms that you would say, well, how is abundance, going to destroy demons? How is, knowledge of the soul, knowledge in general, how is that going to destroy, evil in the world? And that's the whole point of Durga. She says that everything that is available to you is part of this balance, and everything that you consider to be the demons are not things that are inherently wrong, but they've become out of balance. They've become chaotic, confused, directionless. It's become all about them. It's usually the number one thing is that for the demons, it's all about them. The whole world is for them. It becomes chaos. And this is our mind, right? It gets stuck in one place, one way. The energy of Durga is you keep transforming, but have everything that's in you available to you. Not just what you think is going to dominate your enemy. But sometimes it is that inner abundance and graciousness that solves a problem. Sometimes it is being able to see a higher wisdom, a higher knowledge that helps you find the way. Not everything is how do I destroy what's in front of me? How do I transform it, bring it back into balance, embrace it, become better friends. Bring it back into health. Walk yourself back up onto your hands, please. Hands underneath the shoulders. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Take yourself back to downward facing dog. And then bring your feet together, please. And then come forward into plank pose, armpits over the wrist. Roll onto the baby toe edge of your right foot. Right hand holds you. Take your left arm up to the sky. Good. Pull those hips up. And then step the top foot back behind you. Bend the knee a lot so you can really push into that foot. Lift your hips higher and let your throat fall back and your chest continue to lift up towards the sky. Don't just push backwards with your chest. Pull up through that right arm bone. Yeah. Nice, Emily. Nice, Beth. Really good, Mark. And then unwind yourself back to downward facing dog. You got it. Nice, you guys. Take the right leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Good. Step the foot forward between the hands, lunge. And drop the back heel so the baby toe parallels the back of your mat. Good. Walk your hands inside that front foot. Walk to your left just a little bit. Keep that right knee pointing towards the second toe. So here's that, widen your inner knee. And I want you to feel it as though you are widening from your knee all the way up into your hip. Like that wall exercise, you're widening. And pull that right butt cheek, swing it around towards the midline of your mat. Good. Nice, you guys. Press through that front heel. Excellent. And then go ahead, walk to your left, take both legs to straight, turn the right toes, Pause in Prasarita Padottanasana. And then turn your left toes towards the back of your mat, bend that knee, again, like you're coming into warrior two legs. Left toes towards the back of your mat. Let your knee point towards the second toe of that left foot. Right leg is straight. So again, it's as though you have warrior two legs. Hands are inside the front foot. Walk your hands slightly to the right. Good. Keep that left knee over the left ankle though. So your legs are still in like warrior two. So move your hands closer towards your left foot mark. There you go. So you can bend that knee deeper. There you go. Yep. Good, you guys. And then again, widen that inner knee, widen that inner thigh. Good. And feel that right thigh, the leg that's in the back, pull back away from the front knee. So as the left knee is going forward, your right thigh is going back. Excellent. Good. Walk yourself back to center, straighten the left leg, turn the toes, Prasarita Padottanasana, bow. Good. And then bring your hands to your hips, please. Come all the way up to stand. Beautiful. Turn your right toes towards the top of your mat. Good. Stretch your arms out wide to a letter T. Good. Let yourself squeeze all the way into the back of your heart. So squeeze the shoulder blades as hard as you can behind the heart. Good. So your hands are going to move back probably behind the line of your shoulders. So squeeze. And then keep that feeling of hugging, but bring your hands forward so that your arms are really straight in line with the front of that shoulder joint. Good. Palms pressing down as though you are pushing down into heavy air. So as you push down, there's a feeling of elevation, right? So that isometric, I push down through my arms and feel the lift. Turn your gaze towards the top of your mat, over your fingertips. Yeah, so not just anywhere, over your fingertips. Good. And now, feeling that lift through your low belly, bend your right knee, bring the knee over the ankle, and at the same time, pull that left thigh wide towards the back of your mat. Gaze is still over your front fingertips. Already it's wavered, right? Good. And already that energy of pushing down through your hands has relaxed, right? Keep drawing down. And then move your left rib cage slightly backwards. And then let your right knee go back into that lunge again. Nice, you guys. Beautiful. Drop the left hand down the back thigh, right palm spins up and back without changing that lunge. Reach through that right side body, reverse warrior. No, you're going the right way. Good. Keep your front knee bent. Excellent. And then come back to warrior two. So as you come out of the pose, find that feeling of shoulders stacked on top of hips. Yeah. And then cartwheel the hands down to the floor, please. Spin your back heel up, come back to downward facing dog. Good. Nice, you guys. And then stretch your left leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Good. Step that foot forward between the hands. The left foot comes forward between the hands. Good. Walk your hands inside the front foot. Walk to your right until you come to the center of your mat. Turn your toes. Prasarita Padottanasana. So I'm having you come into the pose this way on purpose so that you can pay attention, because in this position, you can see that your feet are in line with each other, right? Often when we come from the lunge position, we really have no idea, right? We think we know how we're setting our feet, but then when we actually come up to find balance, we end up shifting that alignment a lot. So you find the steadiness here where your pelvis is in line, your feet are in line, and then bring your hands to your hips, come up to stand. And from this position, already balanced, right? Turn your left toes towards the top of your mat. It's a much simpler action than trying to come up from a lunge and figure out where your heel is supposed to be in relation to everything else. Keep the front leg straight for a moment, right? So that you're working the upper body first. Don't get obsessed about the lunge. Stretch your arms out wide to a letter T. Good. Squeeze behind the heart and notice how that squeezing is going to pull your hands further back in space, and it's going to pop your ribs forward. So draw the rib cage gently in and feel that squeezing, but draw the hands forward. So you come out of that feeling of hyperextension. Press down through the hands, feel that feeling of pushing into heavy air, the isometric action that should feel like that lower edge of your armpits is suddenly alive. Good. Take your gaze towards your front fingertips and look over those fingertips like if you look away, the world's going to disappear, right? Keep your gaze over those fingertips. Good. Back thigh is nice and straight. Both legs are straight. Good. Keep that back thigh pulling up and back behind you. Start to bend your left knee into the lunge without letting that back thigh come with you. So as it pulls back and you bend the left knee forward, you get that stretch through the groins. And it's like your shoulders and your tail and your crown are still in this straight line, centered over the legs, not leaning towards the front leg, not leaning towards the back leg. Don't let your gaze waver, Beth. I see you. Good. Feel your ribs move slightly back towards the back of your mat because we all have a tendency to lean forward. Yeah. Nice, you guys. And then right hand drops down the back leg, left palm spins up and back. Now you can change your gaze. Keep gazing towards those fingertips. Nice. Keep pressing that right thigh more towards straight. Yes. And then bring yourself back up to warrior two, same position. So you reset, shoulders on top of hips. Crown in line with tail, root down through the arms to feel the lift of your chest. And where is your mind? Is it getting calmer or is it getting crazier? Hard to tell. Cartwheel the hands down to the floor, please. Spin your heel up. Step back, downward facing dog. I know, silly question, right? Drop the knees to the floor, child's pose, please. It's hard though, right? We do warrior two a lot. And even though we say the gaze is important, look over the front fingertips, as most of us, we're fidgeting in warrior two. All of us, we're fidgeting. We don't want to hang on to that lunge. The concept of bringing your thigh parallel to the floor, we're like, nobody actually does that, right? Some people do. It's actually the best place for your thigh to be, for your knee joint, right? It's the safest place for it to be, but it's hard work for the muscles. And it's hard work for the groins if they're tight. Walk your torso to the right, please, over that right thigh. Take a little walk, a little extension of the spine. So part of the practice when you're really working with the pose is to set yourself up well so that you don't have to fidget. So that there's less of that, I've got to keep changing my feet because I'm not fully balanced, or I have to keep changing my arms because my shoulders are fatigued, or I have to keep changing my gaze because my brain just does not want to stay in this moment. Walk yourself back to center, go to your left. Right, so this is the real power of the pose, right? It's why they said you're in the moment of taking action. It's right before you're about to let that word come out of your mouth, or that thought fly out of your mind, or that action leave your sphere of influence. And it's the moment to say, what am I focused on? And am I really aligned? Is all of me aligned in this decision? Is this something I actually want to do, an action I want to take? Because if it's not, you still have the chance to turn back, right? Once you get into warrior 3, the energy is already gone, right? You can't change it. Warrior 2 is when you're setting yourself up for what is the optimal results. What am I aiming for? How am I entering into this conflict? And how do I intend to resolve it? Come back to center. Or do I not intend to resolve it and I just plan to get into a big fight and hope that I, yell louder than the other person? Because sometimes that's what our brain does, right? Because I just want to win. It's all right. That's one of our demons. It's called the ego. Walk yourself all the way back up, please. Nice job. Come to sit on your butt. Bring your feet out in front of you. Badakanasana, bottoms of the feet together, knees wide. I know that went fast, right? Badakanasana, bottoms of the feet together. Good. Then let yourself walk forward any way that you'd like. So if holding the feet feels good to you, you can do that. You can thread the arms underneath the knees. You can extend the arms forward. Just keep your baby toe edges of your feet rooting down. So again, there's activity through the legs. I also think it's important that coming out of warrior 2, again, is to give a release of those areas that had to work really hard. And at the same time, to continue to be encouraging a gentler opening of the areas that maybe felt like they were tight, right? So a gentle release of the outer hips, the groins, not so aggressive. Take one more breath, dropping the shoulders away from the ears. Then slowly walk yourself back up out of the pose. Nice job. Good. Find your way onto your backs. If you are in the room with me, turn so that your head's face center of the room. If you're at home, however you want to be. Come on down to your backs. Good. Bending your knees. Take your right ankle on top of your left thigh. Right ankle on top of left thigh. Lift the left shin parallel to the floor. Reach through to hold that leg if you'd like, or let the arms just rest at your side. Good. Nice. Again, we could have gone into a whole dissertation about the, rotation of the thigh bones and the hip socket and all this other stuff, the spirals of the legs in warrior 2. And sometimes all of that is great. And sometimes that's what makes our mind crazy. Is trying to get all of the details right, trying to be in control of all of the energies. And the point, Durga's point, is that you're not in control of these energies that are primal, right? The energies of your mind, yes, you can direct them. You can transform them. You can do a lot with them, but you can't turn them into something they're not. You can't recreate your mind as something that it is not. You have to recognize some of that primal, what is really inherent in your mind, right? That idea of what vehicle do you ride on? Because whatever that is, it can be in balance or not in balance, but it's not wrong. Right? Riding on the lion or the tiger is Durga's acknowledgement of all of those fierce animal instincts in us. As she says, yeah, they're tamed. I know how to use them in a healthy way. But she would never try to get rid of that. In the same way, you're not trying to get rid of anything inside of you, but trying to bring it back into healthy balance. Release that left foot down to the floor. Please keep your right ankle stacked. So keep the right ankle on the left knee. Just bring your left foot to the floor. And then let your legs drop to the left, towards the left. So your right foot is going to come flat to the floor, ankle pressed up against that thigh. Good. Let that right rib cage reach for the floor. Outer right hip reaches for the floor. Knee points up towards the ceiling. Yeah. This way. Awesome. This one. So that this is stretch, this is stretch. Right. And of course, we love the idea, right? The warrior goddess rides in on a lion or a tiger. But then you have Ganesh who rides in on a mouse. You're like, what? Rides on a mouse. It's just what he does. You know, you have one of the gods who is dedicated to warfare, like military warfare, rides on a peacock. Okay. Right, Indra, the lord of your senses, rides an elephant. Saraswati rides a swan. There's meaning behind all of this, but again, the vehicle of any of these beings is representative of their innate nature, right? What is connected to them because of the way that they are. The same thing for you. What is the nature of your mind? Don't try and destroy that. Learn to harness it. Learn to love it, to be friends with it. Come back to center, please. Good. Unwind that leg. Take the right foot down to the floor. Take your left ankle on top of your right thigh. And then lift that right shin parallel to the floor. Take that figure 4 stretch first. You can reach for the leg if you'd like, or just let it be there. Durga helps us to transform what has become chaotic, what has run amok. I think maybe her most powerful lesson is that she has no personal stake in it. It does not matter to her why the issue occurred. It doesn't matter to her what the details are. She says, I'm just here to resolve it. And it's not about me. She says, I'm not here to win. I'm here to resolve this. I'm here to create peace. And whatever form is necessary to do that, she says, I will become that. I will be that because it's all in me already. And we are the same. We don't often feel that that's available because our mind is so stuck in its own routines, its own habits, its own limitations. So we ask for Durga, please remind me of my undying self. Please remind me of the part of me that is not trapped in my thinking, that is able to observe and therefore transform the way that this energy is moving. Bring it back into balance so that I can be at peace, damn it. Good, keep that ankle where it is. Take the right foot back to the floor, please. And then let your hips drop to your right. So again, the left foot is going to come flat to the floor, ankle still up against that thigh. You're letting the left side rib cage reach down to the floor. So it's like almost a reverse twist. You're not letting your legs drop to the floor. You're working the shoulder back down. And then letting that left knee angle up towards the ceiling any amount. But if your left side sacrum is really lifted off of the floor, you don't want to push that knee up too far because you're going to lose the stretch in your lower back. Right. Good. What would have been really fun is if we had done these stretches earlier and then we could have come back into warrior two and you could have felt the difference, but you'll do warrior two again one day. I know you will. With an acknowledgement, right? Can I do any position, especially warrior two? Can I learn to do it without fidgeting, without trying to get away from myself? And if I do feel the need to fidget, can I start to actually acknowledge what is in me that wants to fidget, that wants to get it? What am I trying to get away from? Because if you can determine that, then the pose has done its work, right? You stayed steady. You didn't follow the habit of just running away. And that's all Durga has ever asked us to do. She says, you just have to stand up. Don't run. Take a final breath here and then begin to unwind. Come back to center. Good. Bringing both knees in towards your chest. Squeeze. Bring your forehead up to meet your knees and hug. Nice. And then slowly let the legs extend out in front of you. Arms come alongside you. Let yourself relax into your Shavasana. The weather is still weird, so again, make sure that you're warm enough. Again, maybe letting yourself just drop into that internal space of what does it take for you to become friends with your own mind? Very gently, allow your breath to get deeper. The body begin to stretch and move in whatever ways serve it well. And as you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest and roll to your right side. Taking a moment there before you begin to push the floor away, come back to an upright seated position. Bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. So Navaratri is named for the number 9 because it is 9 nights celebrating Durga, or 9 nights celebrating the goddess. And one of the reasons for that is that in the stories, there is a battle that she fights that lasts for 9 days. 9 days and 9 nights. So we have this lovely idea that transformation is something that can happen in an instant. And maybe the inspiration for it can, but it also requires our prolonged engagement with ourselves to get there. You can't just transform and think that it's going to stay that way or that it happened overnight. It happened in an instant with nothing preceding it. So this energy of Durga, she says, in a moment, right, a conflict can be resolved, energy can be shifted. But it's your sustained engagement that keeps that balance alive, that keeps that chaos from returning. So it's not enough to just say, I won the battle or I resolved the conflict and now I can go back to not paying attention. It's that we're engaging with those energies inside of us that are beyond just that routine thinking. So that every day, every moment, as we are recreating that peaceful world, recreating that peaceful state inside and maintaining it by constantly being aware of how our energy is moving and transforming it as necessary. And watching those places where the mind says, it's all about me, this one part of me. Remembering that you are undying, undefeatable. So change is nothing. You breathe in, you breathe out. But for 9 nights, she battles. For 9 days, she battles. It's a reminder to us that everything happens, but you have to stand up and be part of it. You have to engage. And once you do, you cannot be defeated. So it's getting past that part of our mind that doesn't even want to begin. So that's why we call on Durga. That's the beginning. We'll close with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night, great rest of your week until I see you again. I will see you soon.